in my mind was thinking these people are I kind of subscribe to the idea that poverty brings out the worst in people. And the first time I went to India, I took shelter at the temple because it was like a little bubble of indulgence in a country that was just full of dirt and austerity and misery and noise and complaints.
It's interesting. I mean, this is just a comment. I don't have a question on it, but we often think there's this sort of romanticized idea about India and this sort of spiritual land and the flowing rivers and the sages. And did you experience that side of it? I mean, how did Prabhupada for you sort of present India to you while you were with him?
Well, I always kind of wanted to go to India because I thought India is very exotic. And I didn't think it was a place of sages and flowing rivers and spirituality. But then I got letters from a friend of mine who was living in Delhi who said it was just impossible to live there. He was also an American. When I met Prabhupada, I thought, okay, well, this is the real thing. This is what India is really all about. That it's a land of happiness and a land of culture. And that the people are intelligent. They're not just poverty-stricken, misery-stricken people. But this is the real culture that I want to be a part of.
So why did Srila Prabhupada want to go back to India?
I think Srila Prabhupada wanted to go back to India for many reasons. One was that he wanted to let his countrymen, his associates, colleagues, know that he was a success in a part of the world that was very much against austerity, and I think he wanted to let them know that. And he called us, this white people, his dancing white elephants. That was one of the humorous phrases that he used. But he kind of bragged and boasted about us when he was giving lectures in places like Calcutta and Delhi and Vrindavan and Bombay, and he was talking about the fact that these people who have everything they want have voluntarily given them up for a higher purpose. And I think that's one of the reasons why Prabhupada wanted to go back to India, to show that even though the Indians were going away from this culture, that this is the real culture, this is what they should really be preaching and really be doing.
And what were people's reactions or response at that time?
People's response and reaction to Prabhupada in India were that he was a bit nutty, a bit crazy, even though he had beautiful temples. And a lot of the people, at first they thought that the Prabhupada and his followers were representatives of Western government. I mean, it went to that stage. They thought they were part of the CIA or the FBI. And there was even it's over now. It went on for about 2 or 3 years of a person who sold a property to Prabhupada, who then had the temporary temple destroyed. Eventually, that became the Juhu temple, but it was a very criminal action against Prabhupada and his movement.
Sorry, I had a little tickle in my throat.
You all right?
Yeah. Okay.
So he was considered kind of an outsider bringing this movement.
Well, when you say when someone says Prabhupada was considered this or considered that, India is a very strange place. There's good people and bad people. So there was a lot of support for Prabhupada and his movement. There was a lot of opposition to it at the same time. It's kind of a lawless country compared to the West, to Western countries. Like if you want relief from policemen or to be protected, they usually take bribes and they only protect you for a very short time and they want another bribe. So it's kind of a lawless place and it's kind of an uncomfortable place. But you can get, there are Westerners who've gotten used to living there, especially in Prabhupada's sanctuaries, so to speak.
What was your experience of going to Surat?
I never went to Surat.
You didn't go? Okay.
15, 20 minutes.
Okay. So I wanted to, in the last part of this interview, talk to you about some of the challenges that were within and outside of the movement. I understand that you played a role in PR for a number of years. Forgive me, what years was that you were?
I was the Minister of Public Affairs for several years, and that was my main service. in the movement. I don't know what years they were, but I mean, I don't know exactly the years.
Was it during while Prabhupada was still with us?
Part of it was when Prabhupada was with us.
Okay. Because firstly, you have this positive publicity surrounding the movement where the movement and Hare Krishna became a household name. Can you speak to anything about that?
Well, it varies from country to country it varies whether Hare Krishna is a household word. I think the Hare Krishnas have a fairly good reputation in New Zealand and Australia, but it varies. I mean, I come from the United States and I see a lot of variation. I see a lot of people